how old is the puppy, first of all?
She is, I believe, 18 weeks this week.
18 weeks. Okay. And how long have you had her?
She was born September 13, 2020. I've had her since she was 8 weeks.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Bear with me. I'm taking notes. Okay. So before we get into the video and stuff, what's her daily schedule? You take her on multiple walks a day?
Yeah, we take her out. I live in a condo, so I don't have a backyard, but I have a long leash and I have grass area out here in the front. So I just let her, run around with the leash, longer leash, play with the kids outside, chase stuff. We work on different things with the kids. We have like little treat baggies that we all hold. So we work on training her out there and then walking with her. I've also worked on car rides with her from the start, because what I didn't want was a puppy with anxiety, and it looks like that's exactly what I got.
So, all right. Yeah. And then, all right, so you have her out. So when you're out back or you're out by your condo and you're all interacting with her, she's fine until a stranger presents themselves? Until
a stranger presents themselves. And it's not even near us. It's just across the street. It's, even when she was younger, it was sort of hard to walk her along the sidewalk because she would really get freaked out by cars. It's something that we're able to do now. Like, we're able to walk nicely on the sidewalk and have cars pass us by on the road. Like, she'll look at the car, but she's able to, like, before she used to stop in her tracks and just do that thing where she's scared and she backs out.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I have the harness on her. It's like a harness that they can't back out of, because once I saw that behavior, I was like, okay, wait a minute, I don't want to lose you. So I need to make sure that you're safe in the harness. So I got that. But she sort of just became, every time I would see a car, even before she noticed it or whatever, I would just say, good girl, it's okay, and just sort of keep going along. So she's gotten better with that. Now it's just the strangers. So if somebody's coming out of their apartment, if somebody's walking or getting out of their car, in the middle of playing, she'll just, who are you? What are you doing? And she will, it's not like she's so super focused on them, but she's just aware of where they are at all times and what they're doing. So I can still get her focus back on us, or the kids can call her, but she's still like, what are you doing?
Right. Okay. And then the videos you sent me, that's a pretty good rendition of how she behaves?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So although she's apprehensive and obviously her anxiety is clear through the videos you sent me, it wasn't terrible. Wasn't that bad, right? And the fact that she was able to overcome it and ultimately kind of interacted with that person, that was good. Now, that person never met her before?
Never met her before. That was just a neighbor that sometimes we would see her walking out to her car just from afar. That was our first kind of encounter that I was able to capture.
Okay. All right. So her primary time outside is isolated to what you just described, or do you go on walks around your neighborhood?
I haven't taken her out on longer walks. It's sort of just like up and down little by little where we have here. Mm-hmm. And then just letting her run and get the puppy zoomies out in front here and just working on like just simple stuff. Sit, lay down, paw, different things, and chasing with the kids and things like that. Like just simple. I do want to get better at taking her further on walks and things like that. But she's not a very energetic pup, I would say. Like I used to work in shelter, so I'm used to like crazy puppies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And she's just not that. She sort of gets cold a lot. I need to get like a jacket for her or something, because she just doesn't have much interest on being outside, or like even when we come inside with her, she's not very like super duper crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't feel like I have to tire her out. I think like just that little bit that we do is enough for her to come back inside. And then we're still able to work on other things that we are with her in the house and play with her in the house and things like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about her harness, because obviously I was watching the video on my phone, but so she can't back out of that harness?
She can't back out. It has an extra latch that goes sort of around her belly.
Okay.
So she can't back out of it.
Okay, and she has a collar too, right?
The collar is something that I have like a little GPS on her collar because I'm like super.
That's okay.
Again, I worked in shelters.
Right,
I know
yeah,
what happens to puppies, and especially pit bulls. Pit bulls are my heart and soul. This is why I needed to contact you. I worked in Passaic as animal control officer, so I know what happens to pit bulls. I know what happens to puppies, and that's part of what I think. Maybe she's like feeding off my nervous energy.
Yeah, I mean,
being outside and strangers and things.
Yeah, it's possible, but she is also only 18 weeks old, right? So although it's a little late in puppy development for this anxiety to still exist in new situations, it's still not uncommon for puppies to, I mean, think about, I mean, you probably had litters birthed in the shelter, right?
Yeah.
Where, for forever, they're just staying in one area by mom, by her belly. And then, maybe around 4 or 5 weeks old, one might trickle away from the rest of them on their own and start investigating, right? And then they go further away and further away, right? So, that's natural puppy development, is to get comfortable in close proximity to the den or the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then stay in that safe space and then venture out a little bit. Again, at 18 weeks, she should be a little further along, but it's not terrible. So that's a good thing. It's not like she's 18 months old and she's exhibiting this. Now, we're going to have to do things a little differently, but because she is still young, she's still impressionable. It's what, 3 months now? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a weird thing about that too is like, obviously it's been hard with COVID and everything else. We can't really socialize as we would. And in general, I just don't have a lot of family and friends, especially friends. Like we just don't.
Yeah.
Weird as that may sound to some.
We're homebodies, so I hear you.
Yeah. We're totally fine, like in quarantine, being alone at home by ourselves, like forget it,
Right, yeah, our lives haven't changed much. We're like, okay.
Everybody's complaining and we're just like, what's wrong about this?
Yeah, this is life.
We're totally fine. But with a puppy, it's kind of like, okay, now we've got to get out there.
Okay, so two things. First and foremost, even though the harness is technically escape proof, we'll call it, right? The collar that has the GPS, it does have like a thing where you can connect a leash to it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can either get a short leash or some kind of concoction, maybe like a little tiny choke chain that you can connect the collar to the leash, the collar to the harness rather, not to the leash, but just so the collar and the harness are attached. Because what I'm going to suggest, we don't want her to back, if she backs out of the harness, you still got her by the collar. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
Okay. So if you could rig something up where, you have that connection, right?
Yeah.
For instance, like I have like this little nylon, it's a safety loop for one of the collars I use, but if you get something like this, and even if you kind of loop it around and then maybe connect it to O-rings with like a carabiner or something.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Just in case she slips out of the harness, it's still attached to the collar. So, and again, you might have to get creative, just try to rig something up. I mean, technically it could, depending on where the collar is and the O-ring on the harness or the D-ring on the harness, one carabiner might connect them. If it's in close enough proximity.
If it is close enough. Yeah, that's very true. And I'm all for extra safety.
Yeah, or you know what they have at Home Depot? The end of a leash like that?
Yeah.
Sometimes they have the doubles where it's two of these, one on this side, one on that side. So that might get you a long enough distance to connect.
So that you connect it. Yeah, that's true.
So you might not have to get too crazy. So and incidentally, Home Depot is going to be part of your homework. So that might be a chance for you to go shopping with her. Okay. Great. So first and foremost is in your complex, okay, you need to find out what her threshold is getting away from your home. And what I mean by that is, you know, the distance when she starts to exhibit anxiety.
Okay.
So let's say, so when you go out your condo, you go into the field, that's an everyday thing. I'm guessing she's fine. There's no issues.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say that's 200 feet, whatever it is, just whatever the distance is, right? You need to go to like 300 feet and start watching her to see when she starts slowing down or getting anxious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much. So as we're going out to the sidewalk, if we turn right, my mom lives down that way, and she pretty much knows, like, because we go and visit my mom, not face to face, but like through the window, and we say hi, and she loves my mom. Okay. So she knows, like, okay, we're going to Nana's house, and we go down the street.
Right.
I haven't been past that, because past that, there's not really a sidewalk, but she does have a moment of anxiety on the other side once we're going up the hill. Mm-hmm. So I see what you're saying.
Okay, so that might be a good, so that's a good barometer then for you to identify her anxiety. So what you want to do is when she I'm guessing anytime she exhibits anxiety, you start heading back home, right?
I try to push her little by little, but I was sort of like afraid that I was doing it wrong. Okay. So I kind of just went to her comfort level, pushed it maybe a few more feet, and then sort of just turned back.
Okay, so
especially if there was like another person with another dog. It's a very dog friendly area here. Yeah. And it's a very small street. There's not like a lot of space. So yeah, if there was like somebody else, I would be like, okay, let's just go back. Okay, so all right, that's good that you've experienced that so far. So here's the thing though, is when you cross that, and she's 18 weeks old, you guys have a good relationship? She trusts you? Oh yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So because the relationship is always paramount for me, right? Okay, so the thing is, when you hit that threshold, when she starts exhibiting anxiety, you might push her a little, but her anxiety continues to increase. Yeah. And then you go home. Right? Right. So her anxiety crops up. Oh shit, I have to get more anxious. The more anxious I get, then I'll get to my safe place. Right? Right. What needs to happen, and again, you know, good relationship. She's 18 weeks old. She seems like a pretty happy-go-lucky puppy with you guys, right? There's no other behavioral issues. Aside from puppy stuff. Yeah, aside from that, yes. Right. Yes. So at minimum in that situation, what you want to do is nothing. Okay. If at minimum, when she starts exhibiting anxiety, you stop. And you don't go forward or reverse until she calms down. Okay. When she calms down, then head back home. Okay. Right? Because we need to kind of retrain her mind that, number one, anxiety doesn't work. Right? And what happens is anxiety builds up. Oh, shit. But wait, mom wants me to keep going. Oh, my God, now it's really scary. Right? And then, oh, wait, we're going back. Okay, so I have to act that way the next time to go back home. Go back home, yeah. We need her to understand that she needs to calm down to get back home, right? And this is going to take several repetitions. I can't put a number on it, right? I could throw an arbitrary number out there, but as you know, each dog's an individual. When you do these exercises, you might even have to keep count. You might even have to, or take notes rather of each episode. Like, okay, we got to the tree today, and she settled down. We went back home. Today we got 10 feet past the tree, right? Today we got 2 driveways past the tree, or whatever. Whatever visuals visual identifiers you can jot down to keep track of. This way you have tangible evidence of her progress, and you don't turn back until she's relaxed. Okay. Okay. That's why I was asking you if she could back out of the harness. Because we're not dragging her through it, but we're certainly not giving in to her anxiety either. Yeah. Now, like, if she sort of just cries and whines for a lot of the walk. Okay. Should I like stop until she stops? Just ignore it. Yeah. Okay. So like even the reassuring, like, it's all right, like that. Okay. Should we just keep going walking with her, or should we stop at that point and let her relax? The reassuring, I'm not a fan of, because first of all, I don't know the dog. It could potentially validate her anxiety. Yeah. So I'm a little cautious when we talk. Meeting new people, we may bring up coaxing her to a new person.
But with your walk, it's all about we ignore unwanted behavior, we reward wanted behavior, right? So when she hits that threshold and she starts getting anxious and you decide to stop, that's it. Just stop. Don't look at her. Don't talk to her. Don't correct her. Don't drag her through it. Just the first time you do it, just stop. And it's literally all about waiting. And so if you have to go to work in 20 minutes, that's not the time to do this exercise.
Yeah.
Because it could take 45 minutes for her to settle down because it's new. This is not the same routine. So and that's, when you're battling anxiety, as you know, shelter dogs with anxiety, I mean, you might, you get a dog brought in, you're like, oh my God, that dog's so lethargic. And then 5 days later, it's bouncing off the wall because it's got all this anxiety. It just didn't have a chance to get to that level of comfort to exhibit its true nature, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to change her true nature, which her true nature is to put the brakes on, get back to safety. So minimum, we stop, right? And again, make sure you have time that first time, especially the first time you do it. And part of your note taking is to be specific with your time so because you might not think there's any progress, but it could literally, the first 5 times could take you 18 minutes.
Yeah.
18 minutes when you're sitting there doing nothing feels like an hour.
Yeah.
Trust me, I do this every day. It feels like a freaking hour, right?
You're just standing there.
Yeah, when you start making progress, you might be at 16 minutes in a week. And you're like, oh my God, there's like no change. But there is. So literally, even if you take your cell phone out, click that stopwatch and time it. And, you don't want to look at her or sweet talk her when she's feeling anxious. Obviously, you need to monitor her to make sure she's okay and to determine her level of anxiety. So the compromise in this exercise is maybe she just doesn't get to a complete state of relaxation, but you do see a noticeable decrease in her anxiety at some point. Okay. If that happens, you can decide to go back home then. Okay. Because now, although she's still anxious, you're not taking her back home at peak anxiety. You're taking her home at a lower state of anxiety. Okay. That can also have positive effects through repetition of this exercise. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. And, you can change up the direction and stuff, but being that she's your dog and it's not like a foster that we have to try and fix to make adoptable or anything, we have time. So you can certainly do the same route, that hill past your mom's house or whatever. Like you could do that same route and just work on that, right? Just so you can start reversing her behavior a little bit before you start bringing her to new places.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, again, think about the puppy that walks away from mom that first time. It's, 5 feet, runs back in, then 10 feet, then runs back in, then starts exploring all over the place. Right. So, take it piecemeal. This is all about her and environmental anxiety, not meeting new people. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Yes. So any questions on that exercise?
No, maybe in the future.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
And just like you sent me video, when you do these exercises, if you want to take video of her, that's fine. In fact, take video, especially the first time. This way we both could see it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're too close to a situation, we don't see it where, I don't know her. I'm emotionally detached, so I could look at it, a little more objectively. So, okay. Second part of the equation as far as people goes. So, do you obviously, if you're gonna have to rig up the harness and the collar or whatever, but is there a Home Depot or a Lowe's improvement store by you?
Yeah.
Okay. Take her to Home Depot.
Okay.
Okay. And what's her favorite treat?
Salmon. Those little salmon fishy treats.
Okay. Will she eat salmon under any circumstances, or is it even
That's
if
the number one?
Even if she's super anxious.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because when we're giving treats to try and socialize dogs and create positive association with new environments, the food source has to be greater than her anxiety. That's why I was asking.
Yeah.
So, you may find out that you go to Home Depot and she ain't taking it, right? Which is fine. It could happen. But if that's the case, we could always chop up some hot dogs or something. But
yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how big is she?
She's 28 pounds.
Okay. So you could try and walk her in. if you want. Okay.
I know for sure she won't.
Okay. So another option is take like a fleece blanket with you or something.
And line the cart.
Line the cart, put her in there and wheel her around. Okay.
Okay.
If people and the initial objective is to, obviously it's a new environment and Home Depot could be a little crazy, and you know, some people, and when I suggest this especially to puppies, people think it's too much for puppies, but I just don't think so, especially the opportunity to that type of environment. And I take my dogs to Home Depot all the time, up north and down here, and they love dogs there.
Yeah,
they generally love when dogs and people love puppies. So you know, the fact that she's in the carriage might freak her out initially, but that's why if you have something soft in there, it might help her. And that's where if people want to say hello to her, she might bark a little bit, and you know, you could just explain to them, you know, she's a COVID puppy. We didn't get much socialization, so you know, we're here to help socialize her. And if people are comfortable, or if you're comfortable with people giving her treats, that's fine. When I'm socializing pups, I don't like them taking treats from strangers, just because I'm paranoid about my pit bulls the same way you are. Like, I don't trust strangers.
I don't trust people at all. That's something that I wanted to point out, because I have been watching your YouTubes. I want to thank you so much about everything that you're doing for pit bulls, and also reminding people how people are they think their backyards are safe. And working in the field, I've seen dogs get kidnapped or dog napped.
Yeah.
And I've seen what happens, and I want to thank you for reminding everybody about that, because that is something, if I watch your videos and I hear, like, I can tear up, because I've seen what happens to people's pets. And I've seen the hatred towards pit bulls. So that's why I'm hesitant to even, and I hate doing this, because I am proud to own a pit bull, but sometimes I get scared to tell people what she is, because I can just sort of feel it. You know, and I've seen people literally poison neighbors' dogs just because it was a pit bull.
Yep.
And I'm scared. So, but that's not helping her either.
Well,
I don't know, like, how do I?
Well, in this case, it is, because we don't want strangers giving her treats, right? Now, and I'm not saying because we're going to be providing the treats, but if you're out and about, you know, I mean. That's the one thing, you know, being from, you know, I'm down south now, it's not as congested, but up north, we know there's people, they'll literally throw like bacon with rat poison on the ground. They're sick bastards, you know.
Many times.
People, when I tell people what happens up north, they're like, really? I'm like,
no.
So what we want to do is, you know, if people want to interact with her, and first of all, when you first go into Home Depot, just kind of gauge her, see where she's at. We don't want to stroke her and soothe her with our calming voice if she's anxious. Okay. Just let her get used to it. Remember, think peak anxiety. We want to get her down a notch. Once she comes down a notch, then we can start interacting with her. So we're validating her decline in anxiety, not her spike.
Okay.
Right. So, and then, you know, you can give her treats if you have to, and, you know, I mean, 28 pounds in a Home Depot cart with a fleece on there. You could do little sits in the cart with her. She's got room in there. Do a little obedience exercise with her. Does she down too?
Yep.
So you'll probably, you'll have enough room for a full down as well. So you could literally just go into the, you know, when you get into the entrance, go off to the side, maybe where there's nobody, and just do some sits and downs. Right.
Yeah.
And you have two options. You could do that your first trip, right? Make sure she's not too anxious, and that's your trip to do your obedience, and then you leave, right?
Just to get
that first initial, more so for assessment and information gathering. Now, if she's coping decently, take a walk up and down the aisles, and that's where you want to get people engaged to say hello to her. And it's okay if she barks and does her thing like she did in the video. It's not aggression. You know, and you just explain, you know, she's a COVID puppy. We're trying to socialize her because we didn't get the opportunity last year. You know, and you know, you can ask people if they want to say hello to her. You can give her a treat. And if they say, oh, can I give her a treat? You know, you can just politely say, well, I'm training her not you could just tell them I don't want her taking treats from strangers or picking stuff up off the street. So we're working on that now. People will be totally cool with that. You know, but you can give her a treat. Make sure when people are when people, especially because she's going to be in the cart, she's going to be a little higher up.
Yeah.
You want people palm up under her chin. We don't want to reach over her head, right? As you know, with aggressive dogs, that could be a recipe for disaster. With anxious dogs, it could backfire the whole socialization process. So palm up, and they can sweet talk her, is totally fine. Now that's where if she's showing a little interest, and what I mean by interest, if she goes towards them a little, you reward that. Even if she doesn't go all the way to them, right? Just like when you taught her sit, she didn't plop right away. You had to kind of shape her and reward her in kind of a process, right? So it's the same thing. So that, just this little, reward that. If she does that, if she backs up, ignore.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you can coax her.
Any sort of positive acknowledgement that there's another person or something.
Yes, we want to reward natural puppy curiosity, and we want to ignore apprehension.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So again, that's another exercise, but also information gathering. You're going to have to shoot me an email or shoot me a Facebook message. Let me know what happens. If you have a quick video of it, that would be helpful. In fact, if somebody goes with you to hold the phone, so you don't have to futz around with the phone, you could focus on her and what you're doing. That would be helpful too. So, so that would be your 2 social exercises. Now, your objective with these things is to create reliable behavior on that walk past mom's house, and reliable behavior at Home Depot. That's your initial objective, because with that, you have to have reliability somewhere before you could have reliability everywhere.
Yes.
Okay. So again, it's baby steps. And, you know, again, I mean, she's at a good age. She's still impressionable, but it's developing that confidence that puppies need to start exploring the world. So,
yeah.
And then I know you don't have any friends. Do you have anybody that can help you, like around your property, where they can approach her, kind of like that person did in the video?
I was thinking to reach out. So recently, some of our neighbors also adopted puppies. And this is where like my antisocial personality comes through, especially when somebody else has a pit bull and I see that they're not doing correct things, and then they don't listen to me when I'm telling them to do something. So I have a hard time getting along with people that have a dog, especially a pit bull, and then I see that they're not doing correct things. Like I can't.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I mean, I was thinking, okay, maybe I have to just sort of get over it just to help my puppy, and like maybe go on walks, not like right together, but like have them walk ahead of us, sort of, so she can like get.
Well, I mean, if they have a puppy and you have a puppy, there's nothing.
Well, their puppy now is like 7 months old, and okay, is she going to pick up the bad behaviors that they're allowing from their dogs?
So here's the compromise. There is, you're equipped to address anything she may pick up on a walk.
Okay.
Right? Is that fair? You know, you're not a newbie. You're a skilled handler. So, you know, I mean, what's worse going to happen? She's going to start pulling on the leash? Shit, that would be great if she started pulling on the leash in a new environment, as opposed to pulling away, right?
It's probably true. Yeah.
I would sacrifice leash pulling in exchange for a great social opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So you have her, because what's on the, what does that new puppy come with? What else is there with the puppy? A human.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for socialization. So I would take advantage of it. And, you know, who knows? Maybe they just, you know, maybe they're not pieces of crap and they just don't know any better. And it's an opportunity for you to help them. Yeah.
That's something to keep an open mind to as well.
Right. So the worst case scenario is your help. What's her name anyway, the puppy?
Nori.
Nori, that's right. Forgot. Worst case scenario, you're helping Nori. Best case scenario, you're helping that puppy and her owner or his owner.
Yeah.
right? So it's not a lose-lose at all. It's a minimum win for Nori.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and you're helping socialize that other dog too. So.
Yeah, it's like I've always had the help of other shelter dogs. Like when a new, aggressive dog would come into my house years ago, I always had other dogs to help me train them.
Right.
Now I'm by myself.
Yeah.
It's like a whole new world with a puppy. Like I don't have like those adult dogs here to be like, this is how you dog.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well,
So
and,
it's a different world.
Yep. So it's good though. Just be open to that, and remember,
Okay.
It's a great opportunity, not just for dog-on-dog socialization, which, as you know, she could develop intolerance when she matures, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could happen through no fault of anyone's.
Yeah.
So getting her a doggy friend or two isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, you had a question?
Yeah, so another thing that I don't think I mentioned to you in the beginning, but so when she was little, we used to just sort of take her in the car. Oh, hi.
Oh, what are you doing? Say hello, knucklehead.
Hi. Hi, beautiful.
He's a Patterson dog.
Yes. I have followed.
All right, get off. You're not supposed to be jumping on me. I'm a trainer.
He probably heard people talking about Jersey. He's like, hey, so since she was little, we've taken her in the car to avoid car anxiety, and here it is. It's like we're starting all over from scratch. She gets, even just walking to the car, she'll start like pulling back, and sometimes, of course, because we just don't go anywhere and I have kids and stuff, we'll just go for a drive just to get out the house, like not even go anywhere, just to take a drive. So we always take the puppy. But she's getting herself so worked up in the car now that she's just throwing up. Okay. And even if it's like a short trip, because I'll just do like short trips just to help her get used to it. But what I started yesterday is to just sit in the car and not go anywhere. Like I'm starting from scratch.
It's okay.
So like, would this sort of, is this like anxiety something that like she might just, should I be getting more help for her? Like if she's just like an anxiety dog?
Do you think it's motion related or anxiety related?
I think she just gets herself so worked up that she's just like, what?
Okay. So,
like,
all right. So
you can't calm her.
So you're already, part of the process is already under the way. You're getting in the car and not going anywhere. Right?
Okay.
You did?
Yeah.
Did she throw up?
We're starting that. No, okay. I didn't. Yeah.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Honda Pilot.
Oh, SUV. Okay. Beautiful. SUV, yeah. Okay. Put the seats down in the back.
Yeah. Get
her in the car and do a little training session.
Okay.
And then leave. And then get out of the car and go back home.
Right.
So, because then it's not just about, because remember, it's not just the car, but it's the car, it's motion.
Yeah.
People, there's other cars. You're in North Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Trucks, buses. I mean, there's a shitload of crap to scare a puppy, right? So a lot of that's where conditioning occurs. And we didn't do anything to cause it. It's just a byproduct of where we live, right? So again, kind of recreating a different mindset and a different association with the car that, okay, we're going in the car, but now we're going to go, if you go in the car 5-6 times in a row and just do quick obedience sessions and that's it, right? That's a good segue to getting more positive association with the car.
Okay.
So, and then obviously when you go for rides, you have the kids with you, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you do 5 or 6 sessions, little obedience sessions, sit down, right in the back with the seats down or whatever. Maybe next time, you go in the car with the kids and maybe she's in the back with them or something, and you start the car, have them do a quick little obedience session, and then go back home, go back inside. Yeah. And then next time, back out of the spot, while they're doing an obedience session, drive around the parking lot, park the car, go back inside.
Okay.
Right. And again,
little by little, and yeah.
It's almost like we're building a tolerance to to the world.
Yeah, all over again. I thought I was doing a good job.
Well, but don't discount that, because the things you've done so far are going to help her, right?
Yeah, of course, yes.
And if you think about a lot of these behaviors, and think about all the people you dealt with when you did shelter work, right? So you probably heard some people reporting some problems, and your first thought was, and this bothers you?
Yeah, like
this is why you're getting rid of the dog, right? You know, dogs puking in the car, yeah, it sucks. It's not that big of a deal. It's just messy, right? And our car's gonna stink. As long as she's not throwing up habitually where there's a health issue. But you know, I mean,
yeah, no, I mean the vomit doesn't bother me, but it's just like that anxiety. Yeah. I just want her to, like, you know, if she's an anxiety prone dog and she needs like help with that, maybe there's like maybe I go in the car with those thunder shirts or something, like, but I'm just gonna start from scratch. Just start little by little.
Yeah, that's the one thing we have on our side is time, because she's young enough, she's impressionable enough. You know, again, she already has the obedience foundation, so that's going to give us an opportunity. Really, we're just preoccupying her mind. That's really what we're trying to do, right? Because you know, she gets in the car, she must be like, "Oh crap! Oh, salmon!" Right? Now we got her attention. Now we could do sits and downs with her
and make it a fun experience.
Make it a fun experience. Okay. That's that, the car. You know, and obviously, you know, we could always have a follow-up. If you have quick questions, you can call me, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, a message, whatever, not a big deal. As you go through the process, if you want to have a longer conversation, obviously we certainly can. And I'm not cutting you off by any stretch. And, you know, if you want to go over more stuff, I'm
yeah, just, is there anything else I can help her with her confidence? Like confidence, any kind of games, activities, or?
So any kind of mental stimulation.
That's working on confidence.
When she's anxious will help, because it preoccupies her from her conditioned response to be anxious in new situations.
Okay.
So, you know, that's why working her in the car is preoccupying her. Going to Home Depot, walking in the front door, doing a quick training session, and leaving is preoccupying her. She's 18 weeks old. She's not supposed to be confident, right? She's not supposed to be this apprehensive either, but you know, she's not supposed to be a super confident dog. Most puppies aren't. And was she a rescue?
Yeah.
Do you know do you know where she came from?
Her mom was rescued in North Carolina.
Okay.
From a kill shelter, and then they brought her over to New Jersey in a foster home. That's when they saw that she was pregnant, and she had the puppies there.
Okay.
So and the mom, from speaking with the rescuer, the mom is also apprehensive of mostly males. But she'll ease up to strangers.
Right. Okay, so she was born in a home environment, which is good. You know, the flip side of that is the puppies that are born in the woods and they're semi-feral. That's not what you have. So, you know, I think, you know, once, you know, another 6 weeks of working her and exposing her to new environments in a positive way, while not giving in to her apprehension, and, you know, again, at minimum, at least standing your ground. At some point, we're going to start walking her through her anxiety, right? But not yet. You know, once she's 6, 7 months old and you have a firm foundation with this stuff, then we're going to be like, oh, hell no, Nori, let's go, bitch. Right? Because then we know the anxiety is going to be quick. The other side of that, she's going to relax, and we're going to reward her. Right? But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, don't get too caught up on confidence. Focus more on reducing her anxiety right now, because confidence is a byproduct of working through this.
Yeah.
Because all that positive. Our whole objective ultimately is that everything is a non-event. That's really our objective. Right now, we need to hold our ground, ignore her anxiety, and then reward her for literally walking 3 steps, like, you know, through her anxiety. So, but she'll get there. She'll get there.
Little by little.
You know, enrolling other people will certainly help if you can think of anyone, even if you can go to somebody's house or, you know, obviously I just say Home Depot just because there's not a lot of dogs. It's mostly people. You have the cart to assist you in wheeling her around. But, you know, that's once pet stores, any kind of places where people are, you know, where there's a decent amount of people, but not an overwhelming amount. Those are good situations to start exposing her to once you get these exercises rolling and she's more confident and responding better to you. You know, that's just like obedience, right? You know, I mean, she may sit 100% of the time in your living room. She may only sit 60% of the time outside, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have to get, you know, we have to work them in all these environments to achieve reliability.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then ultimately, as they mature, our hope is that all this work we do in all these different environments, that she just generalizes and anywhere is okay as long as she's with mom.
Yeah.
You know, because she knows that you're guiding her through this, you're making decisions for her until she can make decisions for herself. Which, good decisions, I should say.
Yes, good decisions. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally different when I'm just so used to having so many dogs in my house and having them help me with the puppy.
Yeah, not having a test
now
dog.
It's just me.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I use dogs every day.
Yeah. I'm definitely happy that she, especially now that she has this, it's not a problem, but she has this thing that we have to help her with. I'm definitely happy that she ended up with us and not in the hands of somebody else. So it's still a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're in doubt, if you're unsure how to address her if she's experiencing anxiety, the rule of thumb is ignore her anxiety. Only reward her when she's on the other side of that anxiety. Like even inside the house, if there's a large truck that drives by and she gets freaked out.
That's actually something a question that just popped up in my head. Like what's an acceptable, I guess it depends on the owner maybe, but what's an acceptable amount of like her barking at hearing things outside? Like,
so if it's a common noise, and what I mean by that is if it's a noise you often hear, like, I don't know, let's say you get a garbage pickup on Thursdays and every Thursday you get a garbage pickup, you know, that's something you probably just want to ignore because it's something she just has to get used to. A lot of times we're so often so fixated on fixing something that sometimes they just need to acclimate to the noises in their environment. I mean, it happens when people move. They can have a great, confident 3 or 4 year old dog, but then they move to a new place and the dog is freaking out. Like, what are all these new noises? So if it's a common noise, a noise you hear a lot of, I would just ignore it right now. Now, if she's barking for 20 minutes or a half hour at a time, then, you know, that could be a nuisance to your neighbors that needs to be addressed. But if she barks for a couple of minutes and then gives up, that's fine, you know, generally.
I think I don't mind the barking, of course. Like I'm pretty much, you know, a house. We just had our other dog that passed away and the house was too quiet, you know? But I sort of get concerned for her when she's like trying to nap. And if there's people moving things or like walking back and forth, she'll, oh, what's that? Bark, 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 bark. And it takes her, I wouldn't say so long, but it takes her some time to sort of like settle and go back to napping, if that makes sense.
So is it just you mean just you guys walking around the house?
No, like if somebody's like delivering packages or the mailman, and she can hear the mailman from like a few doors away. So he has to come to each apartment, you know what I mean? And she'll wake up from that and not stop until the mailman is walking back to the car. You know what I mean? So she'll just get herself.
Can she see him?
No, she's just hearing.
Okay.
And I have the curtains on the window, so like no more overstimulation. Like, who's that? What's that?
Okay, so that's an everyday occurrence. So that's something you might want to intervene.
Okay.
You know, let her know. Let her know it's not acceptable.
Okay.
If you want to eradicate that behavior, if you want her to bark when
I just feel bad, like that she's waking up from her nap, and puppies need naps.
Don't feel bad.
Okay.
Don't feel bad. The worst thing you could do for her is feel bad.
Okay.
Okay. She'll go back to sleep. That's a behavior that because again, that's, you know, kind of like I said with the garbage truck coming every Thursday. You're talking about something that happens 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So that could become a problem very quickly because that's once a day, every day.
Every day, yeah.
That behavior repeats itself.
I just don't want her to feel like she's on edge or that she has to be on edge of like everybody walking past. You know what I mean? Like,
right, and that's where you need to intervene and let her know.
Okay.
And you know, you don't have to give her a harsh verbal correction. It could just be some kind of disconnect.
Yeah.
And your objective there is to, whether it's or you clap your hand, disconnect her for a split second, and then get her into an obedience session.
Okay.
Right? And when I say obedience session, I mean, you know, it could be 8 seconds, right? Come, good girl, sit, good girl, down, good girl. Preoccupy her behavior, but first disconnect the behavior, then preoccupy her thoughts to work for you, and then the mailman's gone. Because remember, any behavior that she repeats, she will get better at it.
Okay.
Right? It's not just good behavior that they become reliable in. They can also get reliable in unwanted behaviors. And that's a good example of something that we probably want to address right now.
Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
She's up already, so don't feel bad. You may as well disconnect her and get her ass working for you.
I just don't want her to be like, you know, I mean, I have anxiety too, and it's not a nice feeling. I don't want her to be like, oh, who's that? And waking up from a nap and hard to, but I can see how like eventually that will become like not such a good behavior that she's learning.
And you know, keep your focus on what you just said, okay? And you know, the anxieties and afflictions that we humans experience and are diagnosed with are different than dogs. Her anxiety in all likelihood is environmental. It's not emotional or anything else that we experience. You know what I mean? It can be at some point, it can develop into something worse, but it's all environment. Everything you're telling me, there's specific triggers for it.
Yeah.
And I've had anxiety issues in the past. I'm not going to ask you what yours are, but when I had anxiety, there was no rhyme or reason. I was friggin' nuts, and I just got anxious for no reason. You know? She's actually, her anxiety is specific. It's tangible. We could identify it, right? So you can, you know, separate yourself from what she's experiencing, and don't feel bad because we can fix her environmental triggers.
Yes.
Right. You know, we as humans, we do other things to address our anxiety, right? Whether it's, you know, going to a doctor or a therapeutic or praying or meditating or whatever the hell. I don't know. I've tried everything. So
everything under the sun, right?
Yeah, whatever works. With her, you know, remember, they're specific. We've identified them. We know what they are. So
yeah,
yeah,
it's very true.